the only way to burn fat is to have healthy muscle. And if you don't have muscle, you can't really burn fat. So the most effective fat burning strategy is actually muscle building, not so much fat burning. So what does caffeine do again? It blocks PDE so that you have a lot of this cyclic AMP around, so that hormone sensitive lipase is activated. It's charged, it's ready to go. It's ready to snip up the stored triglycerides inside the lipid droplet, inside your fat tissue, again, the back of the arms, the legs, and so forth. So this will help you burn more fat while you work out. Now, you can't, unfortunately, have bad news. If you're just sitting still, it's really hard to just burn fat and lose a lot of weight. You have to actually exercise. But the cool thing about caffeine is that when you take it before you exercise is more enjoyable. The perceived exertion, so like when your legs are burning or your arms are burning or your heart is pumping, that doesn't feel to our brain as hard as it really is without the caffeine. So caffeine really helps with that exertional effort. Caffeine helps your muscles put out more force, more power. And again, it activates hormone sensitive lipase so that you burn more fat. Let's talk about caffeine and how it can help you weigh less, burn fat better, have better workouts, and better mental acuity. So here's the research. A study of 18,000 individuals actually showed that caffeine users weigh less than non-caffeine users. And the reason why that is because caffeine raises your resting metabolic rate and raises energy expenditure. It actually increases the amount of fats that you have in your bloodstream, which if you take before you work out is a good thing. And let me share with you why that is. So there's a process known as lipolysis, which I'm going to show you a little bit more details about in just a few moments. But I want to get back to the pre-workout aspects of caffeine. So caffeine actually splits up your stored fat into these free fatty acid molecules so they can be burned inside your muscle tissue during exercise. But that's not all. If you take caffeine before you work out, you preferentially burn more fat for fuel. So when you exercise, your body tends to want to use sugar for fuel. But when you take caffeine, it will pivot your body away from burning sugar and instead favor the burning of these free fatty acids that are raised when you take caffeine. Now, that's just the brief kind of cursory overview of caffeine. Caffeine actually helps you have better workouts. It blunts the pain response. It reduces the perceived exertion. So when you're really hustling at the gym and your muscles are burning and your chest is, your lungs are burning from the lactic acid and so forth, caffeine makes that feel less painful so that you can push yourself harder. You can burn more fat. You can cause more metabolic stress, which over time will cause your body to be more physically fit. Caffeine increases strength output, aerobic threshold, anaerobic threshold, power output. The glycolytic response are so many aspects related to exercise performance that are increased through caffeine. We mentioned reaction time, learning, cognition, focus, concentration, all those areas of the mental game when it comes to life, work, or sports performance is increased as well. Now, let's dive over to the whiteboard, and I want to share with you a few tips about how caffeine really helps to increase the fat burning process, and it increases hormone sensitive lipase, which is really important. But before I do, there's one last tip I want to share with you about caffeine. Researchers have shown that individuals, if they take caffeine and swish it around their mouth, they actually get a greater response from that. So there's a way that you can do that by just taking oral caffeine products or something like Pure Energy, which is a caffeine pterostilbene combination, and you can swish it around your mouth, and that enhances the cognition, learning, mental acuity, focus, and so forth, but it also improves your aerobic capacity and anaerobic capacity while you're exercising. So that's a little tip that I just learned from a recent study. So let's hop on over to the whiteboard and check out the lipolytic effect of caffeine. You want to look better, you want to burn fat. So what do you need to do? Well, you need to activate this enzyme called hormone sensitive lipase. The way that that's activated is through adrenaline. Now you probably associate adrenaline with a stress response, but anytime you exercise, you increase adrenaline. And actually the more trained you get, the more you exercise, the more adrenaline you release, and the more what's called the beta adrenergic receptors you have on your fat cell. So the cool thing about weight loss is once you hit a certain level, it becomes easier and easier to maintain that body composition. The more trained you get, the more adaptations occur inside your body. So the easier it is to have adrenaline activate hormone sensitive lipase to then snip up the stored triglycerides and liberate what's called free fatty acids. Okay, I want to pause and kind of emphasize free fatty acids. So these are actually, when people say like you're burning fat for fuel, this is what they're talking about. Your body actually stores what's called TGs, triglycerides. So that's a glycerol backbone with 3 of these little free fatty acid like molecules, but your muscle tissue, which by the way is where fat is burned. Fat's burned inside the mitochondria in muscle. So muscle is really important, but that's a topic for another video. your muscle tissue can only burn free fatty acids. So the enzyme that does this is called hormone-sensitive lipase. So you might be thinking, like, how can we increase that? If we can increase this enzyme, then we can have more fatty acids to burn. I'm going to tell you how you do that. Well, there's a compound called caffeine. I'm sure you've heard of it. Maybe you've ingested some today in coffee or tea. Well, caffeine, it blocks this enzyme PDE. If you really want to know the name, it's phosphodiesterase, I believe. But anyway, PDE takes the cyclic AMP over to AMPK, or to make just adenosine monophosphate, okay? And now, why is this bad? Well, cyclic AMP is needed to activate hormone-sensitive lipase. So if cyclic AMP is moving over here, that means this activity is going to go down, okay? So what does caffeine do again? It blocks PDE so that you have a lot of this cyclic AMP around, so that hormone-sensitive lipase is activated. It's charged, it's ready to go. It's ready to snip up the stored triglycerides inside the lipid droplet, inside your fat tissue, again, the back of the arms, the legs, and so forth. So this will help you burn more fat while you work out. Now, you can't, unfortunately, have bad news. If you're just sitting still, it's really hard to just burn fat and lose a lot of weight. You have to actually exercise. But the cool thing about caffeine is that when you take it before you exercise is more enjoyable. The perceived exertion, so like when your legs are burning or your arms are burning or your heart is pumping, that doesn't feel to our brain as hard as it really is without the caffeine. So caffeine really helps with that exertional effort. Caffeine helps your muscles put out more force, more power. And again, it activates hormone-sensitive lipase so that you burn more fat, which is all good. Now, there's some downsides to caffeine. A lot of energy drinks on the market, a lot of pre-workout drinks, they contain 200 plus milligrams of caffeine per bottle. So if you take that, you might have a great workout, but you're not gonna be able to sleep. I'm telling you because I've worked at gyms, I've worked at, at vitamin shops and so forth. I've tried all these drinks, from Redline to Monster to energy drink. I mean, you name it, NO Explode. I've tried them all. I really have. And every time I take it, I have a great workout and I love it, and then I can't sleep. And then I have a crappy workout the next few days, and then I have cravings and all that, and I'm sure you've experienced that. So what's really unique is there's a new compound on the market called Pure Energy, and it's basically caffeine bound to a compound called pterostilbene. And what this enables the caffeine molecule to be better absorbed, and the breakdown is a little bit slower, so that you have this same high levels and high level of activity of hormone-sensitive lipase. You can burn fat very efficiently, but you don't have to take as much caffeine. And so there's a product called lipofactors, and I'm happy to announce to you that features this compound. Again, the pterostilbene caffeine combination called Pure Energy. It's in a sachet. It's under the company that I founded, Myoscience. So I recommend taking this on an empty stomach before you work out, because this will dramatically increase your efficiency of your workouts, how efficiently you burn fat, and a perceived exertion. So it will make exercise more tolerable. Now, also, if you take this in the morning, which I highly recommend, that's the most beneficial time to burn fat, is first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. You're gonna have high levels of adrenaline, and again, adrenaline is going to help you activate hormone-sensitive lipase as well. So the lipofactors and adrenaline work synergistically, particularly in the morning. So if you can get up first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, put this in some water, drink it before you go for your walk or on a treadmill or CrossFit, whatever the exercise program is. Not only will you have a better workout, but you'll be able to focus a little bit better at your job. And maybe you're a working mother, or maybe you're a CEO or professional, whatever your profession is, caffeine really does help with cognitive performance as well. So it's not just limited to increase fat burning and increase, exercise enhancement, but it also helps with cognitive performance and so forth. Now, I'm also throwing in a free video for anyone that purchases a product. Again, shipping's gonna be waived on this, but you get a free video on my hypertrophy hacks. So that's something that a lot of people have really enjoyed learning about, because as I mentioned earlier in this video, the only way to burn fat is to have healthy muscle. And if you don't have muscle, you can't really burn fat. So the most effective fat burning strategy is actually muscle building, not so much fat burning. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions, I'd love to hear from you. Just type them in below, and hope to see you on the hypertrophy hack sessions.